Hi, friends. I'm Scott Giles. Thank you for joining me. I am a diplomate of the National Guild of Hypnotists, a certified hypno coach. I'm also a board certified chaplain, and today I want to talk about forgiveness, which is a concept that bridges both uh, the coaching, the psychological, and the religious. Forgiveness is a skill, and I say it's a badass skill. Now, I come to that with a little bit of borrowing. I attended a workshop by my colleague Tom Nicoli, and he asked to come up with a name, a title for a neat YouTube live video, and I said, "Forgiveness is badass." He liked it. He did his own thing on it. This is mine. There's a famous quote that's attributed to Mark Twain. Refusing to forgive someone is like taking poison yourself and then waiting for your opponent to die. And that's because when you refuse to forgive, what you're doing is you're turning your own body into a chemistry set of uh, hormones that do you damage. You're flooding your blood with cortisol. Once that cortisol is there, it's there for 60 hours. Half-life of 12 hours takes 5 half-lives to extinguish. That cortisol thickens your blood, makes it more likely for you to have a heart attack or a stroke. It impairs your immune function, more likely for you to get sick. It turns down your rational thought and turns up, amplifies your emotions, so you're more likely to make bad decisions. It hurts you. So when you let yourself get angry and you harbor resentment at someone, what that does is it hurts you. It doesn't hurt them at all, of course. We all have an internal narrative. We all talk to ourselves as a way of trying to make the world make sense to us. That narrative can be categorized as being a victim's narrative, and I think a lot of people in our society right now cleave to a victim's narrative. And they have the long list of the wrongs done to them and what they're offended by. And as I always say, the fact that you're offended doesn't mean you're right. The other narrative, and it's the narrative I have tried to use for myself as I came out of my own somewhat troubled childhood, was to tell myself a victor's narrative. Yeah, I was abused as a kid. I come from an emotionally abusive family. If I wanted to blame all my problems on my upbringing, I could do that. But instead, I'd rather tell myself a victor's narrative. That those people did everything they could to hurt me and hold me back, and look how badly they failed. I won. That's the key to forgiveness, not seeing yourself as a victim. Now, as a definition of forgiveness, I'm going to say it's drawing a line through time and deciding what's on the other side of that line is not going to affect your behavior. Forgiveness isn't emotion. If you wait till you're not mad about something to forgive it, you'll never get there because feelings follow behavior. You want to feel a certain way, behave as if you did, and your feelings will gradually change. Forgiveness is behavior, not an emotion. It's a willingness to act to someone else as if something they had done had not happened, while remembering, of course, that they didn't. But it's a willingness to act as if something that did happen didn't. You forswear vengeance. It does not mean you forget. We can't do that unless we have dementia, and it's not a good idea. You don't want to let another person have a second shot at your back. We've all experienced betrayal, myself included, and I can forgive the person who hurt me in the sense that I'm not going to sit here and simmer about it and hurt myself, but at the same time, I'm not going to let him or that person have an opportunity to hurt me that way again. Forgiveness does not minimize your own victimization if you've been victimized. If you've actually experienced someone taking advantage of you, that was real and that was bad. And when you say, I forgive that person, that doesn't mean you're saying that you don't recognize that something happened to you that was profoundly wrong. You still know that. It does not require that the other person apologizes. In many cases, They would never apologize because they're a bully and they get off on taking advantage of people, or they may just not be capable of it. They may not be emotionally sophisticated enough to be able to master a meaningful apology. You don't forgive someone because you want to help them. It's something you do for yourself. You do it to settle down your own biochemistry so that you feel better and are healthier, stronger, and more effective. And forgiving someone is not a sign that you're weak. In fact, forgiveness is badass, and that's what I want to point out today in this short video. If someone hurt me, and I decide, well, I'm going to forgive them, it doesn't mean that I'm excusing what they did. Not at all. What I'm saying to them is, what you did to me was so wrong. I'm going to hit the delete button on my mental keyboard. I'm going to deprive you of any satisfaction you thought you got by hurting me. I'm going to do that by relentlessly changing the channel in my mind every single time I think about you or what you've done. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to let that thought be entertained on the throne of my mind. And if someone's been really, really mean to you, and it's the injury was strong, you might even do a complete mental excommunication. I'm not going to think about that person at all. Every time he or she comes to my mind, I'm going to distract myself. I'm going to shift the channel. I'm going to think about something else. I'm going to focus on my breathing. I'm going to do anything I have to do to stop that chain of thought and recollection so that I don't give that person any more rent in my head. Mentally excommunicate. So, who are you? And why should I care? Forgiveness is badass. You do it for yourself, not for the other person. And you can deprive them of any satisfaction they think they got by hurting you by not permitting yourself to think about them, by not ruminating on what they did. Instead, think about something else. I don't care what it is, but change the channel in your mind. And that is hitting the delete key on your mental keyboard. And soon your anger will fade. Thank you very much for being here. I really enjoy doing these short videos. I'll be back next week at 2:30 Central Time with another short video. I'm going to talk about my very favorite spiritual technique, journal keeping. And I've kept a journal since I was 15. I'll share some tips, tricks, and traps. I think you'll find it to be of interest. Thank you very much for being here. If you want to know how my work can help you be a better version of yourself or come to terms with a difficult life situation or a scary medical diagnosis, feel free to reach out to me through Facebook or email. Stay well.